All right. Well, I want to welcome everybody, both those parents who are part of Irvine International Academy to our board meeting. Today is January 25th, 2022, 6:02 as we begin. We're going to have roll call with board members, and I'll call alphabetically by last name, beginning with Brett Freeman. Would you acknowledge when you hear your name?
Present.
Thank you. Next is Doug Hewson, and I'm present as well. Ethan Kay.
Present.
Thank you. Glenn Rogers.
Present.
Thank you. Dr. Jolene Smith would be next. She informed that she is in the airport in Idaho about to see her 15th grandchild. So she will join us as she can get in cell service or with internet. Then next is Edward Watson. I hope you're here because you have a special part in our agenda today.
Yeah, I'm
Edward
here.
Watson. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. And then Miller Zhang, are you here?
Yes, present.
Thank you. So let it be noted, Mary Beth, we have quorum. Next is our public comments. And as a reminder for everybody, especially anyone who's new, we value these. I take personal notes and then the board reviews them later on. But during these, oftentimes they're on topics that will not be on the agenda, so we're not permitted to comment back. It doesn't mean we don't care, we do. It's just a rule we have to abide by. If it's about something later in the agenda, we certainly will take up from our notes your observation, any comment you make, and try to address your concern. And then our order will be this. We'll take those that would like to speak on the Zoom call first as a priority. Remind you again, you have 3 minutes. When you get to 3 minutes, we'll let you finish your sentence, but Mary Beth may let you know that time's expired so we can go on to the next person. And then once all online have had an opportunity to comment, then we'll move to any submitted in written form through our website, and we'll use up the balance of our time to finish those. Last board meeting, interestingly, we had randomly set up our online comments, the written ones, and we were able to get to all of them. So that was pretty good as well. So Mary Beth, you'll be recognizing those that would like to speak first online. Would you like to do that by having them either raise their hand or just go to unmute and then you can recognize them?
Sure.
And I'll help as well because I know your screen may be limited to see everybody at once. So I'm going to keep my voice active here just so I can help you recognize. So let's begin public comments. Who online would like to be first? Would you do the hand raising? I see Kennedy Rocker in my upper corner. Mary Beth, when you could take first.
Yes. Okay. I have the timer on.
Thank you. Mrs. Rocker, would you introduce yourself? And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'd be happy to. Well, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to jump in with Irvine International Academy since the New Year's. It's kind of a way I started our New Year's. And I'll give you a little background. Some of you know my background, having gone to UCLA, and I wanted to go into biomechanics research. So I had a BS, Bachelor's of Science. And I ended up kind of going the back door into education and was really, really surprised when partway through my novice years at a junior high, I fell in love with teaching. I just really saw that that was the career path for me. I was translated for some outstanding administrators. I finished out my teaching credential by taking administrative courses, which led me to the path of administration, which I really had not anticipated. I was able to be principal, assistant principal actually, for 2 principals at very large schools. And then I took over at quite a young age, a large school, over 1,100 children, had fantastic mentors in the administrative realm. I moved into the charter school arena in about 2000, when I saw that some of the dynamics that were in public schools might be able to be addressed for parents and children through the charter school movement. And it was really exhilarating to be able to step into creating schools from scratch. We used great research, and we really had a good time in developing the schools. It was not easy. I think really coming with my years of experience in public school administration, I thought it might be easier than it actually was. A startup is a startup, whether it's a business or a school. And I've been delighted to help out in other schools doing the blueprint of a charter and helping them start, such as Nova Academy in Santa Ana, that's a dual high school college program. So I've had my hand in the workings of charter schools and startups. And then Miller and Michael Scott and I have had the opportunity in China to train some of the principals. I was in charge of training principals, and Michael was really phenomenal at providing demonstration lessons. So in China, I was called Principal Kennedy, and here back in the US, I was also called Professor Rocker. Dr. Rocker is kind of a nice little acronym, but that was for USC. So I had an opportunity to see teachers around the US in my work with USC. So as Michael was talking about coming on for professional development,
Excuse
I
me?
thought this would be
Okay,
fantastic.
3 minutes is up, Kennedy.
Minutes
Well,
up.
it's been an honor to step in and to fill in and to be a part of the program. So it's been a real delight for me.
Okay, I see Rachel.
Hi, everyone. My name is
Honey,
Rachel, and
speaker is not working.
I am the new Human Resource Specialist at IIA. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I have 6 years background in human resources with education. I come from a large school district from Southern Orange County, and I am excited to be at IIA and really step into the role of HR and start up the school. So I just wanted to introduce myself and say hello to everyone.
See, Edwin.
Hi, first of all, Doug, I just want to make sure, so it sounds like Rocker has been on staff and Rachel just introduced herself. Could you add those few minutes back on for parents should they need to speak, please? I just wanted to put that out there. Board, I just want to reiterate that there's been some growing concern amongst parents about Mr. Scott, not doctor, and just his role at the school. We just feel like his role has just been, he's been overbearing. He is overly assertive. And I have to say that in my emails to you guys, which you are always the one that responds, I don't know why the other boards don't speak, but Mr. Scott always tells me information. And the interesting thing I found this last week was that the agenda items, which you always put out there, is that at the board meetings, only agenda items can be addressed by the board. So I asked, how do we put stuff on the agenda? And Mr. Scott told me that it's the superintendent's office with board input. Now that sounds awfully controlling, because if a parent that has an agenda item that wants to be added, I feel like that won't be added. Or if it goes against what Mr. Scott wants, it won't be added. Added to that, it's kind of alarming that Miss Rocker Kennedy has been on board. And then I see the EdJoin ad for a principal, as you sip your coffee there, Doug. He put an ad for a principal. We have a principal, Principal Chong. I felt like that ad was a slap in the face of Principal Chong. And I see on the closed session that's coming up, discipline, dismissal, release, a hiring of an instruction and curriculum director. I see that Scott wants to have his title interchangeably used between executive director and superintendent, which honestly, that just means he's both of them, because he'll just be whichever one he needs to be. So I would like some explanation of what each of those roles mean. I would like an explanation of how we can make those agenda items more open and not just between you as the chair and Scott. And I'm just going to touch on COVID very quickly. Mr. Scott continues to just not have disregard for COVID. A picture came out today where he had his mask off with students and a teacher. That's completely unacceptable. There's a mandate until February 15th for indoor masks. I've talked to him many times. Other parents have too. He knows. You cannot play dumb. He knows. Put on a mask. Second, and the last thing I want to put out there is that there is a petition going around right now.
Sorry, Edwin, 3 minutes are up.
There's a petition going around to leave Principal Chong here. There's over 200 students on that will withdraw if Principal Chong's role is changed. Thank you.
Okay. How about Kong Shi?
Hi there. Some of this comment is based on the evening of December 14th, the last board meeting. I found a good number of the comments being made against Dr. Scott personally. I couldn't agree less with those comments regarding Dr. Scott's face shield and everything else that was complained about.
Mr. Scott, not Dr. Scott. So thank you.
I happened to see Dr. Scott at school on an occasion and did not find his face shield concerning in the least. He explained to me that he chose to wear a face shield because kids was able to see his face and his expressions. I'm not a doctor or psychologist, but my common sense tells me that seeing and responding to human facial expressions are critical to kids' social development. As a matter of fact, from this perspective, I don't mind all teachers and administrators and students at IIA abandon masks and adopt clear face shields. But I respect some other parents' concerns about the potential risks, regardless of whether I believe in those risks or not. Let's face it, masks and even vaccinations are not bulletproof against COVID anyway. And about a comment attacking Dr. Scott's credentiality to be addressed as Dr. Scott, I could not care less. Perhaps a sense of humility would be helpful to the commenter if he or she feels slightly slighted because he or she or someone else has somehow more legitimate doctor's degree. At the end of the day, it's just a doctor's degree. It doesn't suggest a person with a doctor's degree is a better class or above those without one. This comment is full of condescension itself, which is ironic. These personal attacks remind me of communist China, where such attacks happened unceasingly during the Cultural Revolution, when political agendas and personal dislikes were intertwined and mass and from allegations and verbal as well as physical attacks. I respect Dr. Scott and will continue to address him as Dr. Scott without hesitation. My sincere hope is to hear more objective and constructive comments for the school and less personal attacks at the board meetings going forward. It will be a better world for everyone if people can show some grace and let go of their grudges against a specific person and devote their time and energy to better things for the sake of themselves as well as others. At the end of the day, we're the role models for our kids. Thank you.
Okay. I see the raised hands. How about Jen Cho?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Hi, my name's Jen. I have a student who is a kindergartner. First off, I just want to express my appreciation to all the hardworking teachers and staff. I know his homeroom teacher, Ms. Gashti, worked so hard to create all these fun activities for the students, as well as all the hours she puts in as the COVID safety officer. And I know Xie Lao Shi, who's his Chinese teacher, is also just so dedicated. She's always going above and beyond. She records all these videos every single week to make sure our students are getting their Chinese pronunciation right. And yeah, I just really appreciate that. I also just really appreciate Principal Chuang for the work that he did. I mean, he's really the reason why we signed up for IIA. We met with him one-on-one when we were deciding. We talked to a family who went to his previous school. I know, he's just awesome. And I also appreciate the IIA board for all of the governance work that they do, as well as I think so many of us at IIA have overseas family, and we really empathize and want to support Principal Chuang at this time. And so I really, we just really appreciate that he was given that is able to make that trip. One thing I wanted to flag for the board, which I'm not sure you folks might already be aware, but there is a new Mandarin immersion school that is opening basically 5 minutes, like 4 minutes, according to Google Maps, away from IIA. And I think as an Irvine resident and a community member, I think that's awesome. I think it's helping to normalize bilingual education. It shows the demand for Mandarin immersion. It gives more options for families and students. If I put just my IIA kind of selfish hat on though, I'm concerned that, or rather like that, that we have to think about how it's so hard to recruit credentialed Chinese teachers already. And the fact that we'll have this direct competition like practically across the street, and just thinking about what we can do as the community, as the board, to just make sure that teachers are choosing us, retaining the amazing teachers we have, and then also thinking about how I wants to grow so much, and we want so many of these more teachers. And I know that Irvine Chinese Schools, Mandarin Immersion School, they've have all of their job postings up, and just recruiting a lot of the same folks that we would want to get to. And I know Principal Chuang like leading the charge here, I think is going to be a big draw for a lot of those teachers. But if there are other things that we all can do to help just continue to make it a really awesome, amazing environment for teachers and to attract and retain them, I think that's just something I wanted to make sure that board members were aware and that they were thinking about. That's it.
Okay. I think we have some staff members who are Ms. Geshti, since
Mary Beth,
yes.
I'm actually a community member, if I could address the board quickly.
Okay.
that
Anthony
all right?
Chang. Is it Anthony Chang? Okay,
That is correct.
go ahead.
And specifically to the board president, Doug Hewson. Okay. I am a member of Orange County. I live in Irvine. I don't have any family members that attend the school right now, but it's definitely a future possibility. Okay. I've been following IIA since it started because what a perfect place to start school where there's a large diverse population there. So I'm sure IIA will be very successful, and I'm hoping that our family could join that school in the future. With that said, I've been watching these meetings very carefully, okay, and the dynamics, and I was kind of surprised in the beginning. I saw there's a lot of infighting with parents going into the board meetings, arguing, and forming quite pointed opinions about Michael Scott. Whether he is a doctor, I'm going to leave that alone for right now. But I watched the meetings very carefully, and I want to direct this to Doug Hewson. I'm looking at the agenda items of each meeting and the agenda items of this meeting specifically. And I want to just chime in on Mr. Liu's comments. I've never met Mr. Liu, but clearly I've heard him speak previously, and he is a very concerned parent. Then there was the other parent that basically came on and said, let's stop this personal infighting. Let's not make any personal comments, blah, blah. To me, that sounds like just a counter argument. I see two sides forming, and it's very clear. And it's very clear. And I'm looking at the agenda, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. That's a closed session. I was under the impression that this school is a public school that receives public funding. As a result, whether your decisions are made in closed meeting, this has to be elaborated and it has to be presented to the public in open meeting. That has not happened. I've watched a lot of parents comment regarding their concerns about this school, about certain members of the administration, specifically Dr. Scott. Again, I don't know Dr. Scott. I've never met Dr. Scott, so I cannot judge myself. But there's enough of a wave, enough of a tsunami where there's clearly a problem, and Doug Hewson needs to address that. Mr. Hewson, I know you're a JD. I know you're a lawyer by training, but you're also a man of God. You're a pastor. You must have some integrity. What I'm sensing here, looking at the agenda, it's pretty clear. You guys don't have someone in HR. Why are you hiring HR now? It's clearly you guys are planning a coup d'etat. That is clear to me. That is very clear to me. And what I'm talking about right now, I don't want you to
3
say,
minutes. Sorry, Anthony, 3 minutes are up.
oh, let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, let me finish, Mary Beth. Let me finish. Okay. There are 3 things I want to address, and I want the board to address it today, not tomorrow, not next week, not the following month. 1 point, employee contracts, that there has to be, whether that's decided in closed session or not, that has to be made public. Your contracts, you guys keep on changing it. Keep on changing it. Clearly something's going on. Maybe to tighten the noose of the teachers, I don't know.
Sorry,
But there's-
Anthony, I gave you an extra. Can we move on?
Okay,
Because
hold
we
on a
only
minute,
have
Mary Beth.
30 minutes. Sorry.
And then there's
Sorry.
one more thing.
Sorry.
With
Sorry.
the school
let's-
handbook.
Sorry,
Hold on.
let's go on
Mary-
to Kara. Kara, can you please? Sorry about that, Anthony.
If
Sorry.
you're
Kara,
just delaying this, okay? You're just
Mary
delaying.
Uh-huh.
The other
We
thing
like to
I want.
hear Anthony has to what Anthony has to offer. I think he's addressing a lot of points we like to hear.
No,
I can
Please,
give up his
parents,
time.
you guys are
My
hearing
time to
this.
him.
Please, parents, you guys hearing this?
It's up to Doug. Doug, your call.
Give me 30
Let
seconds.
Anthony speak.
Doug, your call.
Kara's giving up her time
There
for
we
him.
go. Yeah,
I'll
that
give
would
my
be
time to
nice.
him too.
Me
All
too.
right, Doug.
We
Doug,
have some leeway. We do want to be equitable, but I think
Okay.
you might be resonating with some others. And it's the first time we've heard from you. And you have not just one, I think you have 2 points. I think we can, I'd like to hear from you, especially since it's tasks that may be something I have to follow up on. So please continue.
Well, the second point, and then after that, if you allow me to address my third point, but my second point is the employee handbook. There's got to be transparency in that. You guys can't change the employee handbook in closed session and not make it open book. Parents, teachers, the rest of the faculty should be allowed to read it. Third point, Mr. Houston or Pastor Houston, I'm pleading to you as a man of faith, okay? Third point to you is, and these, I think they should be addressed. I've heard this over and over again about Michael Scott keeps on saying that the school does not have money to fund certain projects for the teachers. A lot of the projects, especially the cost of material, has come out of pocket. The PTO being separate, this and that. Yeah, if the PTO is separate, then he has no say in that because it's separate from IIA. The last thing is I want to address is if the school does not have money, how can IIA pay for his pension if he is relieved or if he decides to retire for the rest of his life? How is that possible, Pastor Houston? I think as a member of the community, and the last thing I want to say is I hear all this stuff about COVID. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, and then if people have questions about COVID, by all means ask me. I am an MD by training. I'm an emergency physician. I work in a community ER. I see COVID all the time. Dr. Scott, he's an LVN. He's not even an RN. He has no power nor jurisdiction to even comment about COVID. I've been listening to him. Some of his opinions are outrageous, and he's got to stop. He's putting the school in danger, liability-wise, and from legal repercussions. Mr. Houston, Pastor Houston, that's all I have to say, at least for this meeting.
Thank you.
I'm not going to guarantee that you won't hear from me again in future meetings, but for tonight, I'm done.
We appreciate it. Thank you. And
Thank
thank
you,
you, those that shared some time. Mary Beth, let's continue on so we can get as many as possible as well. Thank you.
Okay. Kara, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kara. I have a student in kindergarten, and I'm sorry my video is not on because I'm at home trying to get dinner on the table. But I also am the after school program coordinator, and I just want to, I just want to say as a parent, I've been very grateful for the school. My family is non-Mandarin speaking, and we've been very grateful for Miss Small and all her hard work. And just, I know she's done a lot over the past month, just giving her time for leading other Mandarin teachers, but then also doing the kindergarten class and excelling at it. Also thankful for Miss Grisenti and just her great leadership with our kids. And just, I've been on, I feel like, both sides, just in the office and then also as a parent. And I guess for me, one of the biggest things right now is just, I feel we really need to come together as a community to support our students. And I know that there's a lot of things that maybe need to get worked out or cleared up. And I just hope that the board can make some clarity today and just put people at ease. And just, I just hope that this is a time when we can all move forward together. And I know we're excited to have Principal Chong back. And we're supporting him as he's taking care of his family. And we do hope that this is not a stressful time for him, that we're compounding stress by rumors or things. And we just want to make clear, you know, I think today is a good time to just hopefully move forward as a community and really come together for our students. You know, New Year, Lunar New Year. Hopefully we can all just work together. I'm done. Thank you.
We have time for 3 quick ones. Doug, do you want to pick 3 people? The ones with the raised hand.
No more staff, please.
There we go. Sure. Happy. I saw Alex Chen first. Also, is it Sai Sybil be next? And then Mary Beth, you can choose the third. Alex, thank you for being so patient.
No, you're welcome. My name is Alex. I have a kid in TK, and as a very concerned parent, also on the COVID committee as well at the school. Obviously, one of the first thing I want to say is I'm very thankful that we do have, you know, Mandarin immersion education for our children here in Irvine. My kids in TK with Miss G and Xie Lao Shi, they are great teachers, I have to say. And of course, with COVID at the back of my mind, I want to make sure that everything is safe. So, you know, me participating in COVID committee to make sure that, you know, we are offering the best safe environment for our students is most important. But I think there are concerns whether or not that there's accurate numbers being reported and actually being presented on the website is an issue. You look at the fact that, you know, we have an Omicron surge at this point. The numbers presented on the website doesn't really reflect what's going on in the community. We don't even report the cumulative number of cases. I mean, again, I think that, you know, we cannot, and I know Ms. G is doing a great job as a teacher and also as a COVID officer, but I think this part of the job as COVID officer should be outsourced to an individual who actually devote time, full-time or even part-time to do it so that it doesn't buy time from a teacher. I am an administrator at a university at UCI, and I know how stressful it is for faculty members to run educational program. We cannot rely the COVID safety work on an academic staff. So that's number one. The other issue, which I think we've heard many times from the other parents, is transparency. It's very clear that there's a lack of transparency, which is why you see so many parents are so concerned. We have 152 participants tonight. Clearly, parents are very concerned about what's going on. Is the principal getting sacked? Why on Class Dojo, somehow parents are no longer able to comment, or our comments are being removed? I mean, I think as administrator of a school, I know that being connected and communicate with parents are very important. But somehow IIA is going backwards and not doing that. I think as a board, you really, really need to address these issues up front tonight. Everyone knows that we all love Principal Chuang. Okay, we all have his back. There's a petition going on to make sure that Principal Chuang continue to stay. In fact, I didn't even know that there's a new school. Now the fact that the cat is out of the bag, that there's a new school, there's another Mandarin immersion program, everyone's going to look into the new school if IIA doesn't fix its own business. I repeat, and I know that because I run educational program at a university. I know that our parents are the biggest customers. If you don't listen to the customers who are coming to the school, and again, this is not meant to be business. It's meant to be providing the best education for our children. Then I think all of you on the board are not doing your job. And I have one more point that I wanted to say. Again, with all the ongoing things that at the background, I do agree with Kara. I think we all need to harmonize and come as a community so that we really can move forward with agendas. We haven't really looked into educational programs and how these, educational programs, are they really benefiting our children?
Sorry,
We're not
Alex,
doing that because we're
3
spending way
minutes
too
are up.
much time talking about whether or not that we have the right people, such as Dr. Scott, to be our superintendent or looking after the school. So I think, again, the board needs to be more transparent and address these issues. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I think Sai, you're up.
Oh, hi everyone. So my name is Sai Sai. I am a school assistant, social media assistant. I am a HR assistant. The reason I like this job so much is precisely because of that. I'm able to wear so many hats. I've learned so much. And I can honestly say that every single day, I'm happy to go to work. And the reason I'm still here, I'm still at school, is because I finished after school. We have an excellent after school program headed by Kara, supported by Maribeth, Principal Tron, and Dr. Scott. So we have a lot of enrichment program. And just a moment ago, there are still students outside playing. And I've heard from students almost every day that when their school time is over, they don't want to leave the school. They leave the door and then they say, oh, I'm so sad, I have to go home. It's just really, really heartening. So that's why I really enjoy coming to school to work so much. And I can say, I've heard some of these rumors tonight. I was shocked. In my mind, there's no question that Principal Tron is going to stay principal, and we are going to see Dr. Scott as our leader, because Dr. Scott has the vision and the leadership skill to build a school, and Principal Tron has the expertise, and he also has excellent personal skills to be the principal. And thank you, Maribeth. She has worked so hard. She and HR person Lillian have worked so hard, especially during the pandemic. They work at nighttime trying to find substitutes. Anytime I have a question, even at 11 p.m., she will reply to me right away. And Ms. Gashti, she's doing the, she's trying to keep the school safe. So I have no complaints. I've heard some parents complain, but I really have no complaints. And I have to say, I think a lot of parents do not have complaints. Everyone, a majority of people were happy working here, going to school here. Yeah, and drop by the front office and see me.
Is she taking up public's time? I don't think staff should be able to take up public's parents' time. And this is what is inundating, that making staff.
She's on the clock right now, guys. Oh my gosh.
I'm not on the clock.
My apologies, Doug, but there's a few staff members here who are not on the clock, would actually like to speak and have great things we'd like to talk about that's happening in the classroom. We've all taken time out of our own personal lives to come and speak at a board meeting that is personally affected by us. So there are plenty of staff members who would like to speak as well. I know we're only here for public comments, but every person who is involved in the community has a voice. And I would like to also make it known to the parents that our staff members are working very hard, and we would also like to talk about what is going on in our classrooms and at school.
I appreciate that. So we have a balance, and I think this is some of the most valuable time. Others may think, no, when we talk about the budget, it's the most valuable time. But in my opinion, this is, as a board, our opportunity to listen. And so hearing from each, some parents are both parents and teachers, so we can extend the time. I have that flexibility. And the intent is not to cut it short, to respect everybody's time too. So it's a balance and attention to manage. I would like to hear from a couple staff members in a moment, and we will extend the time. It'll probably be an extra 10 minutes or so. But Kathy, you've been waiting patiently. I don't know if you wear two hats as parent and other hat as well. But Kathy, why don't we hear from you first? Then we'll hear from another staff member, and I think we'll get a third in as well. I'm sorry we don't get them all in, but let's at least extend our time an extra 10 minutes. Kathy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Actually, my daughter joined IIA this month, so we are new, and my first time joining this meeting. And the reason we transform IUSD to IIA, one is a good kind of reputation about this kind of school from the parents I know, and I'm very impressed for the dedication of the teachers, and also impressed by how involved the parents are from this meeting. The reason I'm trying to talk and get clarification from the board meeting is about the Principal Trump. So, and the parent mentioned about the petition going on, like we already have like 200 petitions in such short time. If we have 400 students, that is 50% of the school, right? We support Dr. Trump. And also if you look at I'm the kind of use LinkedIn all the time. If you look at his LinkedIn profile, he has expertise and tracking record of leading the top rank, like this international school in Bay Area. We cannot ask for a better principal in a short time and in the long term. So this is a very important factor we choose IIA, and I think other parents have the same thoughts. That's the reason, like you can see the high petition number. So I would strongly recommend that the board could have the clarification and kind of to the parents to make like the how the Mr. Trump's position will not get demoted, and we will not have a new principal and replacing him. If that is the case, the parents will take their children out of the school. That is what I hear from the parents. That is what I see from the petition. That is very important. And thanks for the time, and I will give the time to other parents.
There we go. Thank you, Kathy. Mary Beth, would you able to select one of the teachers that wanted to share tonight?
I think Ms. Geshti, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. And I promise not to take much of the board's time, but I would like to start off just by saying that I see every single grade. I am in every single classroom. I'm in the office. I bug Mary Beth all the time. I bug Dr. Scott. I'm in with HR, but I'm very disappointed at how our school community is acting. As the person and teacher who spearheads the bully prevention program at school, I feel like our parents in our school community has forgotten the pure purpose of why we have our students here at the campus. We want our kids to have the best education possible. We want them to be able to learn in English and in Mandarin. I am not a native Mandarin speaker myself. I do speak another language, but I am learning just like your children. I am learning about the Chinese culture. I am learning about all the great things that we have to offer, but that doesn't mean I get to judge it. We all are learning and we're all making mistakes and we're all going through this process together. But without us being on the same page and without us working together as a community, it's going to be difficult. Whether you're talking about a new relationship, a new coworker, whatever scenario you want to connect this to, it's going to be difficult. We're going to have our barriers. We're going to have our ups and our downs and our obstacles that we have to get through, excuse me. But with fighting with one another, it's not going to solve anything. And on top of it, I'd like to speak for the few teachers that are on here that I personally have talked to and expressed my feelings. We are suffering because of it. We can see the differences of how your children are behaving in the classroom because of the fighting between the parents or the school and the parents. It is affecting your children. It is affecting how they learn. Please remember, as parents, your children look up to you. It is a monkey see, monkey do. We want our children to be wonderful human beings in society, but we also have to look at ourselves and make sure we are behaving just as we want our children to behave later on in life. Please remember that. We need to focus that your teachers are doing the best that we can. We're doing everything we can possibly can during school hours and even after school hours. When we're supposed to take some time to ourselves, we are focused on your children to making sure they get the best experience every single time they get into that classroom. So please, this is a beg from all teachers who are on, who would agree with me. We just want this school to work. We love our principal. We love our superintendent. We love all of our staff here at IIA. We just want a fun school year to where the kids can learn and have a normal school environment. And that is my time.
Thank you. You know, it's hard to choose who's next, but I don't think I've ever heard in a board meeting from Angela Brown. You may be a new voice or a new face.
I think that's a lot of staff. I don't think we should count that as part of the public comments. They can speak, but maybe they don't count.
I have to refrain from my responses. Sorry, but yeah, sorry about that. You're welcome to do all of that. Angela, are you a new voice to us?
I am a new voice to you. This is my first time coming to a board meeting. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I teach 4th grade and 5th grade. I'm also in charge of the school testing for the SBAC testing. So I do spend a lot of time thinking about our kids and working with our kids. And I do want to say, I want to address a couple of things. So one thing is a house divided cannot stand. And a brand new startup school has so much working against it to begin with, just because startups have a hard time getting off the ground. But when we are divided against each other, it's that much harder. And I want to just point out that I believe part of the reason that we're having such discord is truly miscommunication between East and West. I spoke with a parent tonight who told me that he felt threatened by Dr. Scott's letter about our charter and how we're not allowed to be a independent study school. And I know that was not how it was intended, and yet that is how it was received. That's a cultural difference of manners. And I noticed that between even my partner and myself. Sometimes I know that, you know, especially in writing, we'll take things the wrong way, or it seems that way. And I have to remember, assume the best intentions and check with her. And sure enough, it's not meant in the wrong way. But I just know that a lot of what's going on here could be resolved by a lot more education of how each culture behaves, how we take things. An example is I'm reading a letter that was sent out by some IIA teachers, and I could tell by the content of it, even though it's anonymous, that it is not written by an American teacher. It's written by someone who speaks Mandarin. And it's just, there's certain phrases I can just tell. There's a comment that
Wow.
Classified staff,
Wow.
you know.
I can't believe you just said that. I'm so insulted.
This is a Mandarin immersion school. Know your audience.
What?
But that's
East
no,
and
what
West?
I'm trying
That
to
just doesn't make any sense.
That's
There's
my
nothing
point. That's my
cultural
point.
about this.
Everyone is
That's
American.
exactly my
West,
point. Is
that's an
that
insult.
that's exactly my point, is that we are not understanding each other because of differences of culture, and we need to learn each other's cultures. We need to be more understanding and find out how is this supposed to be, how is this taken, because that's what
not
I'm
how you
trying
came across at all.
That's what I'm trying. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
I agree. That's not how you came across.
A lot of
How you came
people have
across
been
was
born here.
condescending and separating.
I cannot believe you are a teacher.
Do you understand that is exactly what I'm trying to say, is that I totally stepped in
Can
it
we hear
here.
from more parents, please?
That's not what you
Is
said.
this representation of all the teachers at IIA, of all the English teachers at IIA?
I'm so glad this is taped, because this should go to the newspaper with the way how you address it. This is discriminatory.
We are working in US companies. We are the leaders in companies. How could we don't understand the US culture?
I'm sorry, but I was
So
raised
the
here,
board chair is
not
going
East
to
and West.
the board chair is
There's
going to
no-
step in for a moment, if I may. But thank you. And time's expired on that. And hearing from one another is the most
It
valuable.
starts from the top.
Sorry, Edwin. But on the
Hey, Doug, what if that comment was that comment by hey, Doug, what if that comment by teacher Ms. Brown was directed at an Afro-American parent? What would happen? She clearly hinted that that letter, whoever wrote that letter, is a poor English writer or speaker. What if she had hinted that it was a Afro-American writer? We would go crazy.
I think you're going too far.
Are
we done here?
That's my
Anthony, I
point.
think
My
you're going
point
too
was
far.
that
okay, so
Brown will let the public judge. Newspaper will find that information. You would love to be on the news.
But please, that isn't what I meant at all. That's being taken the wrong way. That's my whole point, is that we're taking things the wrong way because we're not understanding our cultures and that we need to understand each other better. That's my whole point. Is that I want to understand.
That point is so unnecessary to be
Your
made.
culture thinks I cannot write a letter with correct spelling and grammar.
I didn't say
Is
that.
that what your
No,
culture thinks?
no, I'm trying to say that it feels like a difference of the way that we look at things. Not, it's a perfectly well written letter. It's the way that we take things, that the way that we understand and perceive things, that's what the difference is. And that's what we need to understand about each other. We need to come together and teach each other how we understand things.
So we'll leave it at that because not that I don't care about the topic, it's just that the dialogue moves us outside of what I'm permitted to do really in this situation. That's a different discussion, and we could have a great discussion in a separate forum for how do we bring harmony within our school. So I love the topic. Thank you. That ends our public comment section. And again, I'll say thank you. Mostly thank you. Someone pointed out well over 150 parents participating tonight. That is unheard of, by the way. I recognize that, the involvement of parents, and then even like Dr. Anthony, to be so concerned about something so important. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next is a closed session. I believe it will last 20 minutes. So I would make this offer to everybody. When we go to closed session, it's 6:50 right now or thereabouts. Let's plan to start back at 7:15. That gives anybody who needs to take a break, you could log off, log back in, but set your timer for 7:15. If we finish closed session early, we won't start without you. We'll just also be on break till 7:15, and then we'll continue with our agenda. In closed session, there's an employee discipline issue. There's 3 hiring discussions as well. And then the final discussion, some time ago, there was the possibility of litigation, which led to an internal investigation. You'll hear reported out of closed session the findings on that. So if you do come back at 7:15, we'll give you the findings on that. So I will ask Mary Beth, I'm inviting our executive director into closed session, then we'll excuse him for our final conversation.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Doug.
Only, but you could invite Dr. Scott in. Thank you, parents. We'll be back at 7:15 with you.
And Doug, let me know if you would like me to come in as well.
Oh, yes, Nick, if you would, because you're our advisor on process and maintaining our Brown Act. So thank you, Nick. Yes, Mary Beth, if you'd invite Nick Driver in too as our consultant.
Is the board in session right now?
Yes. We're in closed session.
I am so mad right now. Oh my gosh.
You're not.
You're not alone.
And if I may, my name is Jessica Sanford. So to the parent that who were feeling offended, I certainly can understand, but I can say that our daughter is Miss Brown's student. She really is a caring and a teacher. I mean, we can see how our daughter adores her, but at the same time, I do understand your point, and I can see why you're frustrated and offended.
I'm also Asian. I'm not offended. I don't understand actually. I don't understand the problem. I think someone just being too sensitive. I don't see any problem.
I think they're certainly entitled to feel a certain way, right? Everybody's entitled to feel a certain way, but I just want to offer that I've seen firsthand how Miss Brown teaches. She really cares for her students. She's an excellent teacher. It has nothing to do with her teaching abilities.
So my confusion is she a teacher at IIA or going to be?
Yeah.
Or
Yes, she's a fourth, fifth grade
fifth
teacher.
grade teacher.
Jessica, thank you for voicing. My son is in Miss Brown's class too, and she is a wonderful, wonderful, honest teacher. Doesn't sugarcoat anything. She's straightforward. She's a great teacher. So you guys, if she left because of you, I'm gonna come after you guys. It's not a threat. It just
That sounded like a threat, Anne.
Cool down.
That sounded like a threat, Anne.
We have bigger fish.
Yeah, we're just
Anne,
having
don't threaten
please
people.
don't mute us, right? Please don't mute us.
That's Mary Beth that's muting.
Yeah, please don't. We're just having
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. I know I keep doing that. It's because we're supposed to be quiet right now. It's not a this is not a war zone. So
we need a
yeah,
we
no,
are not
no,
fighting.
sorry.
We need
If
a
you want,
fighting.
yeah, this is probably not the time. We're being recorded right now. So this is probably not.
Perfect. That's exactly why this needs to be on record.
No, I know, but
It's not appropriate for any teacher
I'm
to
sorry.
say that they
Didn't you put us in a separate room before, Mary Beth?
Hey, if you're part of the school, you follow the rules, okay?
这说不了啊。就是中文都不懂，还要在那儿要主持中文学校。
笑死人了。
对啊。
No, this is pro.
嘿，你们不满意可以走，OK？没有人
我们
求你
会的
留在这儿。
学校就是学校，学校是自由选择的，谁要走，谁要留，都是自由选择的，
对
并且怎么样去在这个学校去想要。
没有 Dr. Scott 这种。
If you don't like the school, you can leave. No problem. What are you doing here? I don't understand. I don't understand what you're doing here. You can leave. What's going on?
You can leave too, you know that? It doesn't have to just be us. You know
I
that, right?
support the
I'm sorry, everyone. When the board members come back, I'll unmute everyone. I just don't want it to be too chaotic. So I'll turn it on again when the board members come back. Thank you. Sorry. Hi, everyone. It's 7:15, and I just got a message from Chairman Doug Hewson that their meeting is running late, so we will resume at 7:30. They need another 15 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for your patience. They are asking for 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. I'm so sorry. I just got a word from Chairman Doug Husen. They need a few more minutes. They're getting the final votes in. Thanks. I'm so sorry, everyone. I just got another message. Chairman Doug needs another 12 minutes. That brings us to, I suppose, about 8 o'clock. So thanks again for your patience.
There we go. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, parents. What could I say about your patience and involvement other than thank you? Productive. Let me report out what was decided in closed session for everybody. First item is the hiring of a daytime custodian. That was approved, and it was approved in the following manner. Mary Beth, if you could record our votes. Brett Freeman, yes. Doug, I'll tell you, first of all, it was unanimous, just so you know. Brett Freeman, yes. Doug Husen, yes. Ethan K, yes. Glenn Rogers, yes. Edward Watson, yes. And Miller Zhang, yes. We also approved the hiring of a evening custodian as well. The voting was unanimous. It went Brett Freeman, yes. Doug Husen, yes. Ethan K, yes. Glenn Rogers, yes. Edward Watson, yes. Miller Zhang, yes. Next was the confirmation of our full-time HR specialist. And let me just check that. Board members, let me do a verbal with you real quick because I believe that was unanimous, but correct me when I get to your name. Brett Freeman, were you a yes? Oh, Mary Beth, you'll have to unmute each of the board members if you would, please. Brett, Ethan, and Glenn. I'll start as she unmutes. Brett Freeman, you were a yes on that, I believe, right? Yeah. Okay, and then I was a yes, Mary Beth. Ethan?
You can go ahead.
Got you. Thank you. Edward Watson?
You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Try him again, Mary Beth, if you would, please. And then Miller, I'll go to you. Were you a yes on the HR person? Oh, Miller will need to unmute as well. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Okay, now I can unmute. Yeah, I was a yes. I couldn't unmute.
I remember. Thank you. And Miller?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay, then we had discussion and a vote on extending the remainder of this year, a contract for a director of instruction and curriculum. The voting on that went as follows. Brett Freeman, yes. Doug Husen, yes. Ethan K, no. Glenn Rogers, no. Edward Watson, abstention. And so that does pass, but not unanimously. Next is Brett Freeman is going to share the results, and the other item that was in closed session that was described as public employee : discipline, dismissal, release. Brett, would you clarify what that is and what has come out of closed session, please?
Sure. So thank you, Chairman Doug. So as Doug mentioned, this is specific to the public employee discipline, dismissal, release agenda item. And this is a follow-up and a closure of the investigation that we did based on allegations made by a parent at the time of the school. We take the allegations very seriously. We hired an independent third-party investigative service group to investigate the allegations and see which ones and what the status was of each of them. So there were a total of 9 that I have here. I'll read out each of them and let you know what the findings are. So the first one was, did Michael Scott misrepresent his degree, credentials, or experience to the IIA board? The finding was the allegation was not sustained. The second point is, did Michael Scott mislead the IIA board into increasing his salary and or stipends for his PhD degree? The finding was the allegation was not sustained. The third item was, did Michael Scott distribute misinformation regarding the transmission of COVID-19 and the use of masks? Was any school policy broken? The finding was the allegation was sustained, though no known school policy was violated. However, we do look and want to have a remediation for this particular item. Following the event of the transmission of that information, was recommended to Dr. Scott not to distribute such information, and will also be noted in his annual evaluation. The next item, 4, did the board authorize Michael Scott to hire his son to work full-time at IIA? Yes, the board did authorize him to hire. It was sustained. Was any school policy broken in the hiring of his son or in the way that he is managed? The finding was that there is an anti-nepotism policy in place, and there was no violation given the supervisory modifications that were put into place. Item 5, did Michael Scott request reimbursement for his daily commute and travel expenses from the PTO? The finding was not sustained. The next item, 6, did the board ridicule parents during the public comment period at the August 31st, 2021 board meeting? The finding was not sustained. The next item, 7, did the board's approval of IIA's contract with Thinkware violate applicable conflict of interest laws? The finding was not sustained. The next item, 8, did the board's approval of the contract for Glenn Severino violate applicable conflict of interest laws? The finding was not sustained. The next item, 9, did the board's approval of the contract for Sarah Dagley violate applicable conflict of interest laws? The finding was not sustained. That concludes the results of the investigative report. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Mary Beth, and thank you, Brett, for the multi-month leading on that. And again, for all of our stakeholders, we take serious issues and allegations, and felt it necessary, especially as a young school, to involve a third party at significant expense, and yet for the ultimate purpose of building the trust that we enjoy here. So thank you. One clarification I failed to mention on the vote for the hiring of our Director of Instruction and Curriculum, Miller, was a yay on that. That was a yes. So sorry about that. I forgot to put that in the record. Great. Well, we welcome the new hires, of course, and thank Brett Freeman for that. That concludes our report out of closed session. I'm going to invite everybody to join me in a pledge of allegiance. We do that regularly just to acknowledge our patriotism, and I enjoy it personally. So I'm going to put my hand over my heart and I'll lead out. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for that. Appreciate it. Next, we have the opportunity to hear, oh no, we have some approvals of minutes. I'll ask for a motion from the board to approve our minutes from January. Is there a board member? And Mary Beth, sorry, you're going to be clicking around. Board members, if you'll leave yourself unmuted, I think she won't have to do too much clicking. Could I have a motion to approve minutes from January meeting, please?
Yeah, Doug, I motion it. Glenn?
Okay, thank you, Glenn. And a second?
Second.
Wonderful, thank you. I'll do a roll call on that one. Brett Freeman then, second. Do I presume you're a yes?
Aye, yep, yay.
And Doug Husen is a yes to approve minutes. Ethan Kay?
Yes.
And Glenn Rogers?
Yes.
Edward Watson?
Yes.
And Miller Zhang?
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes are approved. Now, even though it's very likely that we could have our next meeting, all of us in person at the school site, we do need to approve 30 days in advance, according to Assembly Bill 361, the opportunity if we have to do a meeting like this on teleconferencing. And so I'll go ahead and motion that we make that approval, recognizing we may be able to be in person. But the motion then is to approve next meeting's procedures, vote to approve meeting by abbreviated teleconference procedures for another 30 days, according to Assembly Bill 361 and Government Code by 491. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Brett. Let's go ahead and do roll call. Brett Freeman?
Aye.
Doug Husen is a yes. Ethan Kay
Yes.
and Glenn Rogers,
Yes.
Edward Watson,
Yes.
Miller Zhang.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is the approval of tonight's meeting agenda. I know it seems like we've just spent a lot of time together. This now becomes the formalized part of our agenda, but we must approve a change. There was a typographical error on our website for a couple days that was corrected. Sometimes you start a new year and you keep thinking back to the prior year and typing something like 2021. We did that inadvertently. We asked the Orange County Board of Education their opinion. They said, no, you're fine with a typographical error. Acknowledge it as you go into your formal agenda and ask the board to approve the agenda ahead, recognizing the error. And so could I have a motion? There was an error. Could I have a motion to move forward with the meeting on the advisement of the Orange County Board of Education?
I motion it, Doug. Glenn?
Thank you, Glenn. And a second, please.
Ethan seconds.
Ethan seconds that. Then we'll do roll call vote on that. Brett Freeman
Aye.
and Doug Husen is a yes. Ethan Kay
Yes.
and Glenn Rogers,
Yes.
Edward Watson,
Yes.
and Miller Zhang.
Yes.
Thank you. And apologize, parents, that we put that 2021 instead of 2022. Now we're going to enjoy something I think that's going to be wonderful. Dr. Scott, would you give us your update? And I'm excited about some of the things you're about to share.
Thank you, Doug. Probably the first thing is to recognize that Prop 39 is how we have our property. And again, the credit goes to the parents. Their attendance at the board meetings convinced the Irvine board that the school was viable. That process took us all the way to the end, May, to be approved and working with lawyers. It was very expensive in that respect. This year, however, I did the work, turned in Prop 39, takes several days to accomplish. And the board actually already approved it January 18th at their meeting, Irvine Unified School District. So this has to be done every year, but the board recognizes we do function as a school. They recognize that the parents are involved and that they're going to be coming back. So this is an indirect support of what we have accomplished so far. I'm very glad to report that we have a school for another year.
We have this school again. And did you request any additional classrooms?
Oh yeah, we are larger now. We have 4 more classrooms added to us. So we'll be down both sides of the school. It's going to be fun. A lot more kids. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Board members, feel free to chime in as you have thoughts or questions. Please don't wait on me. But there is something kind of special I was hoping you'd share next. Would you share about one of our board members and a significant achievement?
It's our pleasure. I met Edward Watson originally in a parking lot at a Mandarin school and got to talking with him about what he was doing. He was in the middle of his studies, becoming an expert on dual immersion programs. But Edward, I'd like you to tell more about yourself and what you've accomplished.
Oh, I don't want to speak too much about myself, but yeah, the last maybe 5 years, I guess, I spent time at various dual language immersion programs and gathering research for my dissertation. And then I just finished recently, so I'm very proud of that. It was very difficult, long, hard road, but I had support from my wife and my daughter and my dog, and I made it through.
We congratulate you. I mean, that is
Congratulations.
other people with high degrees, and we are not unaware of the effort for an earned degree like that. And wow, very, very exciting. And your work then will be available to so many others in the future. And what you know here is great. I see Ann putting her hands together on the screen there. Thank you for finding that. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Talk to us a little bit about technology. I know Brett Freeman had something very important to do this and some parents, but would you update us?
Yes, and we are of course crediting Anne Lund for her effort and the PTO, because what they accomplished was a surprise from left field for me. They received a grant for $340,000 for Chromebooks, literally giving the opportunity for every student in our school to have access to a Chromebook and a hotspot so they can take it and use it wherever it needs to be used. I don't even know if we understand how to use that many technology choices, but our teachers have been putting ideas together and they've been applying technology. It created the technology committee. We had to get it going just to go through the process to receive this wonderful grant. And thank you to Principal Stephen for working with Anne as well to bring all this together. We're just very excited about this opportunity for our school.
Great update. And have the, go ahead, board members who want to chime in, but have we approved in a special meeting budget for it? Have they been ordered yet?
Yes, they have been ordered. Again, I need to credit Anne Lund for her help in getting those ordered. She has done so much behind the scenes work unselfishly to help the kids of our school. And I just followed through with her great initiative and we got it ordered. We're hoping to get them in February.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback on that, Doug, and Dr. Scott, just to piggyback
Oh,
on that.
sorry, Brett. Our head of technology.
I just wanted to say really to Annie and to Victor as well, who helped, that this was really an amazing accomplishment. And we hadn't planned for this before, and she took the initiative, and she really did a lot of back and forth. We had to have a special session in December to make sure that we got the approval to move forward. We do have the quotation that we need to approve in this meeting here, Doug, just as a reminder.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Brett led the committee as a board member, but Victor was right in there following up on all the details, and we really do appreciate the work he put into it too.
And we have it agendized. We'll approve the actual vendor selected that won the competition. So that's great. Dr. Scott, other updates, did you want to highlight anything at this point about the selection for HR and how fortunate we are?
I'm glad Rachel had a chance to meet with us. She was the heart and soul of Capistrano School District's human resources. We have grown so much, and a part-time employee is as much work as a full-time employee. But she's also taken on the role of, and Stephen will be glad to hear this, our health benefits as well. So she has experience in all aspects, and the Capistrano School District is one of the great examples. I mean, every school district follows their example as well as Irvine. So, but that will free up everybody else from having to do something they're not familiar with because it's what she enjoys doing. She's taking all of our files and bringing them up to top-notch condition.
Very good.
Really appreciate
it. We're a week away from Chinese New Year. Would it be too much of an imposition for us to encourage Principal Chung to share some of the excitement and the plans, because he's the one that's really been thinking about this before we ever started the school. Stephen, I know it's impromptu, but would you be willing, along with Dr. Scott, to share some of the excitement about what's coming with Chinese New Year? Oh, Mary Beth, could you unmute? You may not have had opportunity to unmute Principal Chung. Oh, there he is. Stephen did not let you know ahead of time, but would you share a little bit of your vision?
To be honest, I didn't really communicate with other people regarding what's going on at school. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
I believe Miss Small would know more. I'm not sure if she's here.
I know you have a
Before
team that implements with the teachers, but
Here she is.
oh, do we have her?
Yeah, Mary Beth, if you could release her.
She's known as iPad number 8. Here we go.
You could unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. This is
Hello.
hi. I can finally I see a lot of board members here, and I see the Dr. Scott. Hi, everybody. This is Sandy Small. So far, I have been coordinated with all the teachers. So I think this is the Chinese New Year. I hope to use this opportunity to group everybody together. So luckily, it's been we're not doing that very well, and now you can see we have 3 dragons in the school, and on Thursday we will have a performers. So I really appreciate it for all the teachers are getting involved in this activity, and thank you everybody supported. So please welcome to come to our performers on this Thursday 10:30. Remember, wear your mask.
Thank you. Would you be willing to repeat that? And would you repeat that in Mandarin for our Mandarin native speakers?
Sure. 举办这个中国新年的活动，最主要是想要把希望可以借由这个机会，然后把就是不管是亚裔，或者是说不管是哪里就是你是就是不分种族，我们不管这个，我们只想要好好的把中国新年办好。希望借由这个机会呢，把所有人聚集起来，所以祝大家新年快乐。然后就是星期4的时候，我们一起来共襄盛举我们的中国新年。
Thank you so much.
好，恭喜发财。
Well, doctors, if you have any final things, anybody who's not muted that needs to, feel free. Perfect.
No, thank you for the opportunity. There's a lot of things happening, and Stephen and I will be putting out a newsletter. We're going to rename it, letting you know the accomplishments plus the plans for the future and what we're going to be doing. So I look forward to Stephen coming back and getting to work.
There's a little phrase that goes like this, and maybe it's found all over the world, but the phrase goes, "And the children will lead them." And I would love to see our children lead us into this celebration this year, just filled with joy, fun, tradition, and that word that came up earlier in the board meeting, harmony. Oh, that would be fantastic, and look forward to that. If nothing else, Dr. Scott, we're going to move on to our business and fiscal update with Ethan Kay that leads that finance committee. Ethan, would you like to give us a update on the finance committee's meeting? By the way, for all parents, the finance committee meets,
Wonderful.
welcome to tune into that, meets a week prior to the board meeting.
Thank you very much, Chairman Doug. So I'd like to, I'm not sure if he's able to join tonight, but we do have a new committee member, Peter Shi. And so he's been getting up to speed on the dynamics of the finance committee and the financials. It has been posted. There is right now we are projected to be in a good financial standing. There are some couple key items that I would like just to note out. The first is the total books and supplies. Clearly, we have blown past the budget. There is some cash basis, accrual basis, but given where the money sources are right now, that is a very big percentage and dollar amount. But right now, I am not so concerned about that. But in light of some new information being shared, that needs to be reviewed, especially if some of the teachers are not having the proper supplies. That needs to again be reviewed. Number 2 is regarding the labor. Clearly, I'm particularly wanting to make sure we are in line from both our staffing at the line level, the teachers, the teachers' assistants, the teachers, and also the admin. Clearly, we made some hires today, and they need to be properly accounted for in the budget. The third thing is regarding, now the third is really identifying the revenue sources. Clearly there's different sources of money, whether it be from grants and gifts from private foundations, public grants, as well as PTO, and our after school. That's something I'm hoping with the addition of new board finance committee members, they can actually tackle some of these issues to ensure we're matching the revenues and expenses properly. And we're not taking left hand to right hand and right hand to left hand. Money comes in from one pot, it's designated for a certain expense, it gets properly treated. And all in all, right now we are in good standing, but we are closely monitoring and reviewing and managing and augmenting the financials for the school, as well as taking account for the expansion as well. So thank you very much.
Sorry about that. Board members, opportunity for comments or questions. And as you do that, I'll let all parents know that at the top of the website, there's a link for accountability. And if you follow that, what we're putting is all of the financial reports for the board meeting that the finance committee sees in a folder for the given month that we have a board meeting. If you have trouble navigating to that, contact Mary Beth and she'll help you either with screenshots so you get right where you want to be. But over time, we'll have many months of our finances as they grow through the fiscal year. And so thank you for that report. The most optimistic thing to me is we're at the midpoint of the year and our actual revenue and expenses match very closely to our budgeted. It means Athena helping us put together this budget have kept us on track, which feels really good. And we're still scheduled to finish slightly positive, about $50,000, $48,000 positive. We'll see if we can manage to that. But Ethan, thank you, because you are frugal and you demand the answers, as does Glenn Rogers. Where does that money come from? And those are great questions for that committee. Board members, any thoughts or questions for Ethan? I'm in that committee, so I'm happy to chime in as well.
Just a thank you to the finance committee for staying on top of it.
A pleasure.
Oh, that's good. Well, thank you. Our board agenda next then begins with a discussion item. And the nice thing is it's Ethan again, so don't unmute yourself or don't mute yourself. The discussion item is about our desire, along with some parents who raised the question a number of months ago. What about doors that would limit some of the sound on certain classrooms? Would you be willing to share with us what the facility committee has been talking about and where we're at on that issue?
Wonderful. So in the prior board meeting, I decided to chair the facilities committee. We had a very productive call with a couple parents, and they have provided extreme working level details. Mike, I'll be looping in shortly regarding this. We actually have a meeting this Friday at 8 a.m. to be all hands on deck to really just look at this, a parent who has given some I call shop drawings. They're not engineering drawings, they are, but at least we have concrete, substantial, something in writing with diagram measurements, and we can now have a fruitful conversation to take this project further. The second, after that, Michael and I and whomever may will then start our conversation with IUSD and see how we can continue down the process. We want to be very mindful that this is a capital campaign project, and this is not just purely doors. There needs to be some retrofit. So there's some moving parts to this project. But clearly, doors for not only sound but physical safety as well needs to be. It's a top priority
Plus
for the
ventilation.
facilities committee. Michael, is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, Ethan, it's just, and the doors and the ventilation too, right? Because I think it's going to be a big project working with IUSD to help bring in the architects and have them involved in the process of helping us build this out.
Yes.
It will be a multiple month project, not a quick solution.
Agree.
Members, any other thoughts or questions for Ethan and the team? Good update. Thank you. And what I appreciate is that this issue was known and arose with some parents, but we haven't let it go. And you're really championing it in the way that be very professional. Thank you. Discussion item 2, we've already taken care of. Thank you, Brett Freeman, for doing that. We had that up higher in the agenda. Next, on number 3, Brett Freeman, would you share with us, it's a discussion item, clarification that the technology committee is not a standing committee, and just kind of take us through that discussion.
Yeah, so the last board meeting was mentioned that we were setting up a technology committee, but in fact, this is not going to be a standing committee. It's going to be an executive director subcommittee, and we'll focus on particular initiatives. So the first initiative was to help with the purchase of the Chromebooks and the hotspots and the related service. And moving forward, hopefully we'll receive that equipment in February. And then the next project will be the website redesign, which is a long-awaited item for a lot of us, myself included. So the committee, the subcommittee will be represented by myself. We'll seek certainly input from Principal Chuang, Dr. Scott, board members, but also parents. So the committee will have individuals that are a representative of the school from the parent standpoint, but we'll solicit feedback from everyone. So we will get everybody's input and try to make the site as representative and beneficial to the community here that we serve as best we can.
Board members, thoughts or comments?
I just want to recognize Brett. Thank you so much. This is much needed for every single school, and for you, somebody to have the willingness and ability to do it. Kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it could improve our communications in a number of ways. And most of the frustrations we experience in nonprofit organizations are going to be broken processes or incomplete communications. And this is vital. Thank you. It's time for the next iteration. My question, will you, once there's a scope defined and solicited all the input, will we go through a request for proposal type of a process in the competitive bid process?
Yeah, so our goal here is to have a very transparent process. The committee will not be made up of individuals who actually do the work on the website. The committee will help in determining the scope of the site, what inevitably will include or not include, vendor selection, which would include multiple parties bidding on the platform, will help us to go through a lot of the input that we'll get from stakeholders, faculty, all the individuals represented by the school to make sure that their input is taken into account.
Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to number 4, our first action item. I'm going to have Dr. Scott describe this. He's asking for approval of the quotation that was submitted by STS for the ECF funding. And I'm presuming the best vendor is what we're approving here, but would you re-describe that one time? I believe this is the one where we prior approved the budget, but this is the vendor. Is that right?
That's correct. The budget was approved. We had an idea of what to do. Brett's committee then determined the vendor. And now that we have the precise contract, we're asking the board to approve it.
And STS is the Chromebook supplier then? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I'll ask for a motion then to approve the vendor STS as our vendor of choice for that technology project. Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Ethan motions.
I think we got Brett in first and Ethan in second. So Ethan, if you don't mind me giving you credit for second, thank you. I'll do a roll call vote, which starts with Brett Freeman.
Aye.
And I also approve STS. And then Ethan K.
Aye.
And Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
Edward Watson.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang. Waiting for an audible on Miller. Is he still with us? Oh, there we go. Thank you, Miller. Sorry about that. Number 5 is exciting. Dr. Scott, we've been offered a grant for a purpose for which we can designate. Tell us a little bit about the generosity of Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation.
Yes, the Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation have already donated $50,000 to our school. But before the end of the year, one of the board members of the Hogue Foundation came to us and said, we want to also add $71,296 for a total of $121,000+. We are really grateful for what this means to the school. Ideally, the first year is so hard because you don't know your budget categories and what you're really going to spend. And this gift is one of the things that helps us meet the needs of the kids. I just can't thank them enough. And we recognize them. If you notice, there's a dragon wall in our entranceway. We have our second $100,000 plus donator now. Additionally, just so you know, that we're going to designate 2 rooms for the K Family Foundation, and the Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation will recognize them eventually in a ceremony to designate 2 rooms in their honor.
Oh, wonderful. Well, it's fantastic. And thank you for maintaining and establishing those relationships. It's all about those relationships, friendships. Principal Chung reaches out to outside entities, and then our PTO, Shishong, thank you for motivating and giving the parents a way to be so generous with the school. It's just evidence of just the great involvement we have. I'll ask for a motion then to approve and accept the gift for $71,296 from the Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation. Could I have a motion?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Miller. And it looks like Glenn is seconding that. And so let's take a roll call vote. Brett Freeman.
Recuse.
Doug Husen is a yes. Ethan K.
No, I'm sorry.
Yes,
He said recuse.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Thank you for reminding me that. Thank you for that's a recusal, Mary Beth. Then Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Edward Watson.
Aye.
Miller Zhang.
Aye.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. Okay, number 6 is an action item. This one we previously approved. Our accountant to make it a board item to be more specific on what the source of funding is. And so we approved the work that Dr. Scott and Principal Chung had done in the months of May and June before our fiscal year, but they went unpaid. And we approved their payment in a previous meeting, but now we're asking that that comes from general fund as opposed to a grant fund. It's a little wordy, but I'll make the motion that we modify our previous approval to specify that the salaries are paid from the general fund. Could I ask for a second on that motion? I think I saw Miller waving his hand. I'll give you the second on that. Let's do a roll call vote. Brett Freeman.
Aye.
And Doug Husen is aye. Ethan K.
Aye.
And Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Edward Watson.
Edward, you're on mute.
Sorry, I muted myself, and I guess I should just keep it unmuted. And then I wasn't able to unmute.
I know you're being courteous and
I'm
Miller.
just so used to muting myself.
Aye. Thank you. And again, we discover these things in the depths of those financial committee meetings. And Ethan sometimes calls our attention to, do we have the right funding code? And then the discussion with Delano, and it produces these good things. Okay, item 7, approval. Okay, so this one had some discussion in closed session. And the action item is this: we may, as a board, decide something different. Approval of Michael Scott's title as executive director and or superintendent to be used interchangeably, depending on his school function. And then there's a little bit of a narrative to this. Glenn, you expressed some concerns about this. Let me ask you this: is this one we want to modify to what we discussed in closed session and reshape the motion?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. So we want.
I'm going to take a stab at what the motion would be, and then we're going to have discussion. Not the same full discussion we had in the meeting, but I want to give Dr. Scott an opportunity to share something that we heard in closed session, just for the public as well. So here's what the action item could change to be, or if we have to carry it over to another board meeting, that's okay too, to make it happen. But the board in closed session heard parents, heard Dr. Scott, and recognized some need for clarity. And so the board would prefer that from this point forward, we, in the context of the school, refer to Dr. Scott's title as executive director only. There's our motion. I have paused because we need some discussion so that those around can understand why it could go either way. And yet, for the sake of clarity, we're taking the lead as a board to bring that harmony and clarity about. Dr. Scott, talk about way back, this is multiple years back, you're writing the petitions. How often and why would it have both names, executive director and superintendent in? This is a benefit for our parents, really. The board understands.
Okay. 55 times in the petition, the expression executive director / superintendent is used. And that's because when you're just beginning the school, the executive director is wearing 2 hats. He's the head of a nonprofit 501c3. So when you're working with the federal government, asking for information, the first question is, are you an executive of the board authorized to act? So that's the hat of the executive director. It's the legal for the nonprofit corporation. Then when you deal with the California Department of Education or the district or the county, that is an educational issue. And so in those steps, the superintendent is the leader of the school. So that title is what you would use. It's what they're expecting. If you're a private school, the title would be head of school. If you're a public school, the leader of the organization, it's the superintendent. So both positions are leadership positions. One is 501c3 nonprofit, legal. The other is for educational. At this time, it's a one-person job. I say that reluctantly because it's not. It's more than one person, but it's what I'm doing every day in helping with the school's academics and the relationship with the district, the relationship with the county office of education, our authorizer as a superintendent.
In the writing of your contract, we harmonized your contract to the petition and used both titles. Is that correct?
That's correct. The contract was signed on the 8th and it's both titles are used.
Okay. And so there we are. We're in a state where we set your salary based on recommendations from the attorneys that we have based on Irvine Unified School District's executive director title, not a superintendent. And so the confusion everybody comes in. Many people think a superintendent is a person over multiple campuses of schools. A valid understanding. Large districts have superintendents that oversee 50,000 children sometimes. And so that might be the picture they have in their mind. And when they see you over a single campus, multiple grades, they're not comfortable with it. So we recognize that. We do understand that when the county and our governing board says, or our authorizing board rather says, hey, we kind of relate to you as, we call you superintendent. That's the reserved word for it. There's the conflict. They're picturing you just as you are, but others are hearing you as you're really not, you know. And so what we're wrestling with as a board, and we may not move on it tonight, but maybe a board member would like to move on it, is in this context, when we're in school board meetings, when we're chatting with parents here, trying to accommodate them to say, let's hold to the idea of executive director for them, recognizing that what we're doing is we're saying we acknowledge that our leader of our school is not over multiple campuses. Glenn, did I phrase that kind of how what we're trying to do?
That's correct. Yeah. So the other thought though is then do we just update the petition and just remove the word superintendent out of it?
Yeah,
That's what we'll have to get some. Go ahead, Edward.
Yeah, well, Glenn was just saying, we just amend the petition and just remove the superintendent out of it.
Then you have clarity. It's simple.
Yeah, we update our petition each year anyway. And if the corresponding advice from, you know, our attorneys and Orange County Board of Education will give us input on this. As they go, oh, we understand, go ahead and amend it. Or if they're comfortable with us keeping it, we still in this context can satisfy the parents who are wrestling with the definition. It's fair to you, Michael. I don't think you're a prideful person. Would it offend you if it was okay with all that we interact with, if we limited that title in this context? Give us some reflection. Obviously, we might not be able to with some other people, but how do you feel about that?
Well, I serve what the board needs me to do. So as you said, there's no pride involved. And of course, I'd like to do research. The petition comes from a lot of research, legal advice. So I'd like to, unfortunately, it'll cost a little bit, but just go get an opinion from the legal. They will understand what normal charters are doing.
I think this one's, if you're okay with us, I wonder, Glenn, if we move on this or we carry it over till next time with the input on that, because we may frame it where we say in our context in the school, it's executive director, then we have a separate motion. We could do that now. And then in the second, an motion next month, we could deal with the changing of the charter based on the consultation we get.
That's fine. I don't think the legal folks are going to come back though and give us a problem with that. If we need to ask them, that's fine.
I'm comfortable with making the motion then that in the context of the school, the board recommends and asks Dr. Scott to operate as executive director without the superintendent title. And by the context school, I mean with parents, staff. Mary Beth, we may have to wordsmith that a little bit. Let me take another shot at
Yeah, Doug, in my experience with charter schools, Maynard Immersion schools, you're either head of school or you're executive director. That's what the top leadership decision is.
Thank you, because I've been the head of school superintendent, and the person that took my role after me took executive director. And so there's some synonyms here. The well-fit one. What do you feel good about, Edward? Do you feel good about executive director?
Yep.
Okay, I do too. So let me make the motion then in the context of our school communications internally with staff and parents. Dr. Scott represent himself as executive director. Could I have a second on that?
I second it.
Thank you, Glenn. Then let's go ahead and take a name roll call vote. Brett Freeman,
Aye.
Doug Husen, aye. Ethan Kay,
Aye.
Glenn Rogers,
Aye.
and Edward Watson.
Aye.
Miller Zhang. Oh, he said yes. I can see it. He's making hand motion, Mary Beth. I will acknowledge that. Thank you. And thank you for flexibility, Dr. Scott. I think that expresses that we're hearing parents also and trying to improve communication. Number 8, approval of internal complaint procedures from the employee handbook. This one, I believe, Dr. Scott, is already a part of what we'll talk about in just a moment, the overall employee handbook. But you had a conversation with Orange County Board of Education, and they had requested what are our internal complaint procedures, and we want to just approve those as they're written. Is that right?
That's correct. So that I'll forward that to the Orange County as approved in our date.
Yeah, it's a requirement that we share our procedures with the Orange County Board of Education. And just so parents know as well, we will be with our governance committee revisiting all of our existing policies, and we'll be inviting some additional participation on that. So we're hearing the desire for clarification and improvement and communicating our policies more broadly. So help me phrase this, correct me if I get it wrong, Dr. Scott. The motion we're asking somebody to make is the approval of our internal complaint procedures, which are a part of our employee handbook.
Can I ask a question here before we?
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I should have invited that.
So who's the author of this? I guess I'm curious about how this came to be. I mean, I see it in the Charter School Development Center. So maybe can someone speak to the craftsmanship of it?
Yeah, the employee handbook is provided by Young, Minnie and Core, the law firm. They review the different requirements that a charter needs, updating it legally also. So this part would have been originally from the materials of the Young, Minnie and Core. The difference between this and the entire employee handbook is that we actually put work on specific policies in the rest of the handbook, but this is pretty much intact.
A, impact. B, is there risk? C, are there controls?
That was Miller. That's okay. So, Dr. Scott, a question. I mean, Michael, a question for you. Is the employee handbook a public document?
Yeah, I mean, all of our documents are public documents.
Okay, so maybe I didn't see that there. So I'll take a look again. So is the employee handbook on our website currently?
Yes, we'll be publishing it. If it's not, after we approve it again today with the modifications, it'll be back on the website. Okay, usually at the bottom of the homepage is where the books are listed. I'll check real quick to see if it's there.
Okay.
Well, the employee handbook is on the accountability page under board policy, virtual binder, staff and student interaction, number 7. That's the employee handbook.
Yeah, quick links. I don't see the employee handbook listed, but we'll ask them to put it on.
Okay.
My comment regarding this internal complaint procedure is after reading it through, is a bypass mechanism. I do see the structure and flow, but when there are issues that needs to be of such parties, I do believe right now that it does need to go to another, whether it be which we'll talk about later, the governance committee and or a certain particular third party, could be a law firm or something along those lines, because so that every single complaint is addressed. It's going through the proper process and channel. So it's not who are we contacting? So there's a specific process, and so Doug, that's something I like to note regarding this specific document.
Yeah,
Great.
specifically what the board discussed in closed session was the need for, particularly for employees who have a chain of command, to have the bypass when they've exhausted their direct report, and then the executive manager, maybe all the way up to Dr. Scott, that it's clear to them in this document that they can go straight to the chairman of the governance committee. Currently, that's me. We're going to expand and beef that team up so they can respond quickly to employee issues, because sending to the entire board is perhaps okay at this moment, but Ethan was right. They need to know specifically there's a single name and that there's someone on that committee that will give them immediate attention. And so if we can identify that within the internal complaint procedure before, if that can be added as it exists now, I think we can move forward with approval. But I don't think we can approve it yet without the commitment that that will be included, that the governance committee chair can specifically be contacted by employees as the bypass after they've exhausted their direct report and been unsatisfactory. Is that language you could add in there?
Sure. I'll get back in touch with you on it exactly. But
okay, and myself or Ethan or both of us, if we could roundtable, we've heard the other board and discussed it, and we think that's a real strength for our employees.
Yes.
And it just, we know, yes, we can go within the school, but we can also go to our specific person in a specific smaller committee that will act quickly without having to wait for a full board monthly meeting.
That's right.
Is that right for everybody on the board?
That's correct. Yeah, that's definitely
Speed, it's focus, and okay, and I think that makes our organization just that much better. You know, when you know you have an ultimate recourse, you're not afraid to talk to your boss or your boss's boss, you know, and so we'll craft that. So I would like to maybe is Orange County Board of Education time dependent right now, or would they be willing to wait till our next board meeting where we could craft the language and have it in? What's your feeling on that? Because we can approve it with a commitment, we'll put that in. But if it's not time dependent, I'd like to just take the time to really craft the language. And
Mary Beth, do you remember if there's a portal request for that that's due on the January?
No, we have time.
Okay.
okay, board members, you okay if we table this and revisit it with the actual language next month?
Yeah, and if we can get it out to us so we can read it ahead of time, Michael, that'd be helpful.
Great.
Yeah, and I would just, if we could please just confirm that it's not a due item, a due now item. You know?
Yeah, I can't find
Maureen,
that quick enough.
Maureen Cox is here today, so I don't know if she can confirm. But I can look it up and I can send you an answer tonight.
Okay, if we have to come back in special meeting to make it happen as a single board item, can. But I do feel better just having everything in front of everybody's eyes and black and white. Good. Number 9, action item, approval of Irvine International Academy's independent study program. Policy. And this is about how the guidelines of how students work from home and for how long, because there's some legal requirements for us to remain in our charter. Dr. Would you describe in an overview what we're trying to accomplish with this policy?
There's been a needed clarification. A lot of the teachers have truly tried to accommodate during the COVID and provide classwork and instruction at a long distance. However, we are not a independent study long distance, a long-term program. That's a different set of rules. So there are 14 days available for independent study. We just want to nail this down so that everybody understands these are our guidelines. We do not do long distance, long-term independent study. We are a classroom-based school. We can offer independent study, but it's usually just for a week or 10 days.
Board members, thoughts or clarifications that you'd like?
So this policy that I mean, I understand what you just said. So is this going to be reported somewhere or something? Is that what we are approving or being asked to approve this independent study policy?
Yeah, the Orange County Board of Education wants us to be sure that we're classroom based, and that's all we're addressing right now. When I talk to some parents, they're like, well, gee, I want to do, I'm really enjoying this approach. Well, our school would not be the school for them if they really want to go long distance. There'd be other opportunities, including Irvine Unified. They have a long distance program.
Yeah.
So we just have to affirm, basically we're affirming that we're a classroom-based program offering 14 days of independent study according to the law. And I've already distributed the independent study policies. We're just reaffirming it because COVID has definitely confused and mixed what we are or are not able to offer.
Did the 14 days, is that dependent? Does the school dictate those 14 days, or is that when a student is out for 14 days?
It has nothing to do with absences. It's like, I want to study at home. Okay, fine. So here, the teacher has to meet with the parent, provide the work, they have to agree to it, and then it comes to the administrator to sign off and say, this is great for a week of work. Then the work is done, it's turned back in. The 10 days is usually the maximum amount, but the law, and it is the law, it's not our school. The law allows 14 days for independent study. If a person is gone more than that, we have to disenroll them because we're not set up for that. We are a classroom-based program. There's a lot of legal work that has to be done to set up a long-term independent study school, and we're not that school. We're a Mandarin in-class school.
If a student is out on quarantine because of exposure to COVID, and they want to, would that gobble up any of their days?
If they were set up for independent study, yeah.
Okay.
Or sick day. Of course, the school does not get paid for sick days beyond, well, I guess we don't get paid actually for sick days. I'll have to check that for sure.
Okay.
But beyond 14 days, we wouldn't get paid for it, the work.
Board, any other questions on this one? It seems like it's just a restatement of what our charter or our petition said we are, but with the proliferation of remote learning variations, probably some parents are wondering, what are we? What are the rules? What are the boundaries? But it looks like there's a 14-day boundary that we have defined ourselves as, at least at this point, and it would be a good amount of work yet to define ourselves in any other way.
And just as a matter of information, this could change. The state is in such, they'll say one thing, and I when I went to San Diego for the conference on the charter school conference, this was a big part of the topic. And recently we just sat in with another meeting and the funding question. This is in constant flux, and we'll update, but this is the law right now that we have to abide by.
Okay. So the motion then would be to affirm and approve our independent study policy, which is around 14 maximum days. Yeah, that could be a good motion. And if we revisit this policy 2 months from now because circumstances change or the funding mechanism changes for charters, I hear you, that could change. Well, let me ask for then a motion on approval of our independent study program with the 14-day limit, which is we're legally allowed to be at this time. Would someone like to make that motion?
A motion?
Brett's got the first on that, a second. I'll go ahead and second that. I think it's fairly perfunctory. This is what we are and have to be right now. Let's do a roll call vote and we'll move toward our next items afterwards. Brett Freeman.
Aye.
Yes. Doug Husen, yes. Ethan Kay.
Yes.
And Glenn Rogers.
Yes.
And Edward Watson.
Yes.
Miller Zhang. I can't see Miller on my screen right now, so somebody will have to let me know if he's raising. He's got it. He's a yes. I see his hand. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Coming near the end now. Okay, action item 10, approval of board policy for expenses. Dr. Scott, as was asked before, our board policy for expenses, how we process expenses, what are allowable and not allowable. What is the source for those?
We started off with the Irvine Unified School District's policy. Also researched the IRS policies on, say, mileage is now 58.5 cents per mile. And this is the most recent information. After that, after the research, we turned it into our accounting firm, which has a CPA on staff, and they offered more suggestions that we adapted, and this is the final result.
So Athena, who works with other charters and has to process their expenses, they contributed as well?
Oh, absolutely. That's
Okay.
the CPA.
Any thoughts or questions, board members, regarding our improved expense policy, keeping with the times here?
We're just updating.
We're not updating. We don't have a policy.
We don't have a policy.
Oh, this is our first policy on it. Great. We're thank you for developing that first year school. Then I'll make a motion that we approve our first board policy for expense. Could I have a second?
I second.
I use my pencil that I earned. Okay, I asked Daddy to cut it.
I'm sorry I missed you a second on that. Thank goodness for children. They keep me smiling. Who was our second on that?
That was me, Edward Watson.
Thank you, Edward. Let's do a roll call vote then. We'll start then with Brett Freeman.
Aye.
Doug Husen is a yes, and Ethan Kay.
Aye.
Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
Edward Watson.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang. He says an aye there as well. Thank you. Okay, and then as will many of our handbooks be updated, if not semi-annually, they'll be updated annually. We've gotten the latest version of our employee handbook. Is this time dependent? Because we do have a question on the subpart that we might be working on the next 30 days. Mary Beth, do you know if the handbook is OC Board of Education asking for this one?
It's not time dependent.
Okay, it's ours. Anybody opposed to us just holding this over since the subpart will change and we'll just approve both of them next month?
That's fine.
Okay, let's move that one to next month. And then we do have to approve as a board the Prop 39 contract that's been offered to us by Irvine Unified School District. I will begin by saying thank you to Irvine Unified School District being so quick on that. It shows a lot of confidence, but it also paves the way for us. Questions about that? One might be, Dr. Scott, financially, is it in harmony with what we're doing now? Was it an extraordinary uplift in expense, or is it consistent with what we're experiencing now?
It is consistent with what we're doing now. It is just 4 more rooms. That's why it's a different price. Otherwise, it's essentially the exact same contract.
Very good. Board, any other thoughts?
So we in the facilities committee meeting, we did review it. A few things came out of it. Number one, I have to say thank you IUSD for such a generous rental rate. Even I was shocked. I had to do some math just to confirm the math did add up correctly. It's sub $1 a square foot. Number two is, the addition of just additional rooms. This number three, it is, from what I understand, it is it's the same lease contract. However, the fourth part, it was interesting in which I think it possibly needs to be reviewed and amended for certain other aspects. We need to tighten up the language. Another a parent who attended that facilities committee meeting did provide some really good insight about how possibly some portions of the parking lot are being used and it's not being covered part within our existing lease agreement. So we plan to address that issue with IUSD in the future. But so far, it's a rock solid lease agreement. And thank you, IUSD, really.
Just a question.
Facility committee to believe it's good to go. Please, Brett.
I was just wondering, I saw a huge branch that was severed from the tree on the playground from the winds, I presume. Is that their responsibility to remove that, or whose responsibility is to remove that from the playground?
Yeah, it's IUSD's responsibility, and we did call them.
Thank you.
I have to say, IUSD is taking care of their facility. I mean, it's quite clear cut. There's no BS with that of who does what, and quite impressed that this is their facility. We're being a good tenant, and they're taking care of it.
Well, noting that we would like to at some point maybe offer an amendment that deals with the parking lot language. Looks like we're okay to at least ask for a motion to approve the Prop 39 contract offered to us at this time. Somebody like to make that motion?
Ethan motions.
Okay, Ethan and Brett had a second on that. Thank you. And thank you for the pre-work on that from your team. Then we'll start with the roll call vote. Brett Freeman?
Aye.
And Doug Husen is yes. Ethan Kay?
Yes.
And Glenn Rogers?
Yes.
Edward Watson?
Yes.
And Miller Zhang? Thank you. I saw your hand go up. Oh, and I heard your voice. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it's more like emotion than like, she's.
Action item 13 is our final one. This one will take just a little bit of explaining because it's a little bit cryptic in our notes, but it'll make sense when you see it. Dr. Scott, we have some parents that desire to be in our school. They've been waiting till their child turns 5. Is that right? And would
correct.
that be a motion that approves their enrollment in TK upon their turning 5? Is that what we're asking the board for?
Yes. September 2nd to December 2nd, the child can be 4 and attend the school because they're within the age the state has set up. So that's how our TK was composed. But we've had a couple of openings, and we have some parents that said we didn't qualify before, but my child after December 9th, for instance, is now 5. They still have to be approved by the board because it's outside the state guideline dates. So now that they're 5, they can join if the board approves. I did check with that with the lawyer and got that opinion.
And how does Principal Chung and you feel about this as a process and these particular young people? I want to hear from Principal Chung maybe first, and then hear your opinion as well for the board.
There are many perspectives to look at this, and then based on my past experience, it's more consistent to stick with what you said to the parents from the very beginning, that the cutoff date is from September 2nd to December 2nd. And also, if we change the policy, then my concern is that it also add a lot of pressure to teachers too, because they already finished the first report cards. And now they have to catch up more with the new students. And my understanding is that our teachers will wonder how how long this process will last. Is it going to be like continue all the way to February or March? So that's my concern.
Thank you for that experience. Stay with us because board members, this is our last item and it's worth a little bit of discussion. Board members, any other thoughts or questions? Or Dr. Scott, feel free to.
Yeah, Doug.
Let me add one thing before you go, Edward. The law is changing next year, and it's going to be September 2nd to February 2nd. So the law is changing next year, and these dates are within the new laws that are going to be for next year. But
So these, if we were a year ahead, these children might fit in the new law and it wouldn't be an exception to our policy.
that's correct.
Edward?
Sorry. Edward.
No problem. I was just, I remember us doing this very similar thing a few months ago, and we said that we weren't going to allow any exceptions. So is that different this time than when we did this before? Do you guys remember that?
You're straining my memory.
We had a student who was outside the boundary, and we
Yeah, and we decided not to approve it. That's right.
exactly, yeah, and we decided not to approve it.
So what's different?
Yeah, that's my question. Exactly.
We have 4 spaces available for the children.
But
Before we didn't have spaces, or
available doesn't mean we should change. I don't understand why it's coming back to the board if we've already declined it the first time.
Because the parents are still insistent they want to be part of the school. That's it. Basically, they're saying it's legal to do. We want to apply.
Yeah, this,
I mean, you can turn them down. That's fine. I'm just presenting to you what they're asking for.
I think it puts on too much pressure on the teachers to have them catch up. I really do.
Yeah. So aside from the decision that the board made already, do we have any input from the teacher? Have we asked? I'm just curious.
No input from the teacher.
Forecast with the teachers and individually and say, how would you feel about a student joining in this month?
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, I mean, apart from the fact that the board made a decision before, so we have every reason to stick by what we decided before. But if we're assuming that the teachers don't want them now because it's too far along, it would be good to get their feedback to corroborate that one way or the other, just for understanding and input.
But I think that's what Stephen said, right? We asked Stephen, he's talked to the teachers. Stephen, I'm assuming you've talked to the teachers recently. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, I don't want to say too much detail because they said they work really hard for this brand new school. We really work hard as a whole team because we know how difficult to start a brand new school. And we truly appreciate all of our teachers going extra miles to set up everything from nothing, because we all know this site was empty. And then they spent so much time to set up everything. And then unfortunately, we do have many challenges that led the parents made a decision to withdraw and then add it on. So it's been a while like that. And we have to take that into consideration. We don't want to add more stress and pressure on them. So we do want to show support for our teachers, for them to stay with us.
No, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, because I like that we bring, these are other parents too. They're prospective parents, but they brought the opportunity to us. It is an exception to our policy that we held on to. So I would like to, if I'm okay, if you don't mind, board members, I would like to go ahead and make the motion, but it's okay to vote even as you've expressed it in our discussion, because let's give them a fair shot. And I think that would feel good, because if we have Dr. Scott, disappoint them, at least he can explain why. And I'll express that. It's disruptive to the year. Our principal's advice is it's not respectful to teachers. He can add the narrative, but this is our role, guys. When we have to say no, it hurts a little bit, but it has value. And So I'll make the I hate making
Actually, Doug,
pass, but I'm gonna
can I,
go ahead, Ethan.
Doug, I think the key word, and thank you, Principal Stephen, is the word classroom management. It's the disruption, it's a startup, but the classroom management needs to get in order. And so I think wholly support.
Yeah.
Once that you lose control of the classroom, I mean, it's going to be very unfortunate. So, but please continue. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm with you. Our teachers are gold. Our administrators are gold, and wow. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll make the motion that we approve the TK enrollments suggested as the birth dates listed. Oh, I might not even get a second, so that's okay. Is there a second? It may not make a vote. I'll give it a few seconds. Okay, let's note, Mary Beth, that the motion was made but did not get a second. And again, it's not that we don't like these parents. We love that they want to join our school. It's just our wisdom right now to add them and their children. It doesn't mean anything more than that. And I know, Michael, you'll express our heart. Principal Chung, same thing. When you do those tours, see the parents light up, but they're just not at the right age. Sorry. I want to address every opportunity and say yes, 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 but this is a no. So sorry. Hey, we have a final moment for any board recommendations. That's things that you would like our executive director to be giving attention to. Any board recommendations this evening other than the ones that we've noted earlier?
Yeah, I have a recommendation. I think that there are certain individuals that have gone above and beyond this year to really make the school a very special place. This would be including those in the office, those that are teaching. And I don't know if there's going to be any budget left over, at the end of this year, but maybe as we get closer, if we do see that there's some availability of funds, it'd be really nice to honor those that have gone above and beyond. Especially with the turn of the year, and we had a lot of faculty staff that were out with COVID, and we had students too, and a lot of people were scrambling and had to do above and beyond and spent a lot of hours, even in the setup of the school. So I think we only get the first year once, and I think really nice to honor those that have really gone above and beyond.
Great. And so Dr. Scott, and probably by extension, Principal Chong, I think you're being chartered to look at ways to recognize our staff. And certainly I know Ethan K will work with you on budget, and we'll try to allocate areas of budget to make that happen. But that would be really great if maybe by next meeting, we could have something in your heart that you think would be well-fit recognition in the way that Brett described. But brilliant idea. Teachers are underappreciated, administrators are. And by the way, it doesn't escape my attention that our principal and our executive director need recognition as well. We see what you've accomplished. And so that's my job, to make sure I recognize with this board your efforts and achievements. So thank you, Brett. Other recommendations, board members?
Yeah, Doug,
This is
just for
Ethan.
you is on the governance committee, can we get something on the agenda for the next topic to make sure we expand that committee and have it set up to meet on a monthly basis?
Yes. Yes. Mary Beth, would you note that in recommendations? And that's a task for me.
Yes.
To both define and set a schedule for the governance meeting and make sure we agendize the addition of people by next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So, Doug, I do believe right now, as much as the school has started from ground up, we are at time now that we do need strong policies and procedures. So in doing so, right now there is the governance committee. I do recommend that this committee, either the committee as a whole or developing subcommittees as an ad hoc special project or an ongoing subcommittee, is to address personnel, which ties to some of the items in our prior meeting agenda. But also, given even in light of today's board meeting, we do need the governance committee possibly needs to address and support operational policy and procedures. for example, this reimbursement policy and procedure and the form itself needs attention immediately. There's been some, from what I understand, there's been some, incidents at school as well. And so how is the health and safety properly managed from a policy and procedure? These are operationals at the school itself. And right now, there's just an overwhelming amount of work by our top admin team and they just need more support. And so this governance committee is critical. The second committee, and I'm now kind of going as a broken record, is regarding the education committee. I call it education, anybody can call something else. It's where the fundamentally reviewing and implement and oversight and of the curriculum as stated in the charter. That is vital. Right now, a lot of these issues that are being brought to the board level, we need more eyes to be able to do a more deep dive and talk to some individuals. I right now chair the finance committee. So as a result, I do spend more time with Delano. And then so I can make a proper recommendation to the board. The board was going to ask some very tough questions and may not agree with the recommendation of the committee, but nevertheless, somebody did spend more time on it. And again, another fresh pair of eyes. Right now, I strongly recommend, almost I will use the word demand, that these committees get spun up ASAP and get this thing going so that these issues that we're, as a school, we can address them and then get back to what we all desire, is to run and make sure we are implementing what we said in our charter, which is Mandarin immersion. And as a result, with strong policy and procedures, we then we know that the processes and everything will fall in place. But right now, I believe the school at this point does need strong outside leadership and guidance to support our staff.
And that's a shared one between Dr. Scott and I. And so we will give it immediate attention and even involve our PTO so that we can begin to get the definitions of what we're looking for in those, because I bet we have very skilled professional parents that would love to give that the focus of their time. And
I do have one more thing, Doug, is, and this is something I personally wrestle with. And, we all have come to join, participate, join as a parent, join the board, volunteer for this school, but not to deviate from our original mission, which is the Mandarin immersion in our charter. As a result, it is quite important that we do have a representation of our audience. And so it does not necessarily need the skin color. I never subscribe to that, but the understanding and the appreciation, so that it's not rolling into what we do here in US, but also understand from the other side. And so it's quite vital. And I hope that the education committee, governance committee can help really focus on that issue.
I like that. Focus on our mission, and the people that have the same mindset, let's get them harmonized and on that. That was great. That's great. Board members, any other recommendations? Wow.
Doug, I'd like to thank the board for tonight. I think that you showed independence of thought, deliberations, and reasoning of why you choose what to do. Not every recommendation was accepted from me, and I appreciate that. That's what you're for, to act in the best interest of the school, to bring other perspectives to the school. Thank you for everybody serving our kids. I have one more comment. I wish I was finishing on a different note, but when I worked with the Ontario Montclair School to help start their Mandarin immersion program, they had no social media presence at all. And we've tried multiple platforms, but what I came to realize is that we are legally responsible for any false statements that may be put up there, or statements against, somebody says, well, that child did that. Since we're supporting the platforms, we could be liable. And as a result, we've turned off the comment portion. So Class Dojo, parents can still contact the teacher, have private conversations. That is still fully in effect. What the school is not providing is a platform for false statements or any possible litigation against us to come, because we supported statements that come out. It's not a matter of not letting parents talk. It's a matter of legal protection for the school so that we're not liable.
Okay, thank you. I think someone aware of that, but that's good to know, and good proactive wisdom just for protection school. Great. I'm going to ask for a motion then to adjourn, but before I do, it's appropriate. I think I would speak on all the board members. There's 100 people still participating, and it doesn't escape our notice. While we're talking, I scroll through page after page and look at the names and the faces of our parents primarily, and some who just have a desire to champion our school. And so I'll say on behalf of the board members, thank you. This is unique. The commitment, the participation, and the involvement of parents, and it is the #1 factor in success for children's education, parent participation. And so I say thank you. No matter how good, or maybe how sometimes the board may miss things, you make up the difference with your participation. And I know that from experience, but I appreciate it now. Could I ask a board member for a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Brett. A second, please.
I second it, Doug.
Thank you, Glenn. And I'll just do a roll call final vote. Brett Freeman.
Aye.
And Doug Husen is a yes on adjournment. Ethan Kay.
Aye.
And Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Edward Watson.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang.
Aye.
And that will, I'll ask Mary Beth in about 5 seconds to end the recording, as I just say, Watson, how soon till I call you Dr. Edward Watson?
Well, some people have already started, so you can more than welcome to.
I'm going to start then too. Well done. Mary Beth, thank you. Parents, thank you. Board members, thank you. Board meeting at this time.
And come join us Thursday at 10 a.m. for our Chinese New Year celebration.
Look for me out there.
Fantastic.